Well, congratulations. You've now completed Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and today you're in the fourth and last gospel, the Gospel of John. Now, the Gospel of John is very unique. It's a different gospel in its account and its look at Christ. Remember, the other three, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, were called the Synoptic Gospels. Each of them looked at similar events, and you can see an overlapping of one on the other. It would be told from a different point of view to a different audience, but you could see who'd read about it before. A lot of what you read in John is in no other Gospels. And one of the things that makes John stand out is not what he has in the gospel, but what he doesn't have. Realize it doesn't have the birth of Christ. It doesn't talk about his baptism. Doesn't talk about his temptations. Doesn't talk about casting out demons. There's no parables there. There's nothing on the transfiguration, the instruction of the Lord's Supper, his agony in Gethsemane. Even his ascension is not mentioned in John. Instead, John puts a real focus on Christ and his personal interactions with the Jewish people, his times at feast, and mainly his teaching of the disciples. It's been said that John gives us that real personal view of Christ. It's why many of us ministers, when we see someone come to know Christ, we have them read the book of John first. It gets them to know Christ, but more on a personal level necessarily than the others that are more biographical. And so John's a powerful book. Because of that, when you see something in John that's in another gospel, it's usually standing out for a reason. And at the end of chapter 1 that we read today, there is a story that is in Matthew and in Mark, in two of the three synoptic gospels. Remember the story? Andrew finds Christ first. And what does Andrew do? He goes and finds his brother Peter and brings Peter to Christ. And Peter becomes the disciple. It's kind of interesting because this is the way the gospel has spread around the world. Person by person by person. I've asked people in sermons, if you accepted Christ, came to know Christ in the past because of a friend, a family member, that's who brought you to Christ, that's how you connected, raise your hand. And I will see 90% of the hands go up because it is the most common way. It's why in places like China, where churches are outlawed, the gospel still grows because it grows person to person to person. It's kind of interesting that in the day in which we're having social distancing, so we don't infect people with the virus, we are called not to be socially distant so we can infect people with the gospel. That is, let them know about Christ, his love for them, and their ability to have a relationship with him. One author called this oikos evangelism because if you look at here, this is his household. The Greek word oikos means household. If you study through Acts, you'll see where it talks about them and their whole household. Greek word oikos, were saved. And your oikos would be your close friends and your family. And see, that's the power of the gospel, is not necessarily someone being reached by someone who doesn't know him. They just happen to have a conversation, they're on a plane. That happens, but it's rare. The real power of the gospel is a relationship. As we share Christ, as our life lays over their life, and they see a difference that points them to Christ. So let me say this. This weekend is Easter. It's going to be the most unusual Easter that we've had because we can't meet physically as a body. We'll do what we have done, which we'll have the service online. You can watch it with your family, which is awesome. But do you understand on Easter that normally attendance for church doubles? And why does it do that? Because a lot of people who don't come other times during the year, they come that Sunday. But here's where we need your help. See, we've been doing digital for the last few weeks, and you know how to go and do that. But there's someone who may wake up Saturday thinking, I need to be in church tomorrow. Well, I can't be in church. What do I do? They don't know to go to our website. They don't know to go to our Facebook page. So can I encourage you to reach out to your friends, to reach out to your family and say, hey, why don't you join me virtually this Sunday? Our church is having a live stream service at 9:15 and 10:45, and you can hook them in so they can watch it on Facebook. You can have it where they can watch it on our website. We even have an event up so you can invite them, which will give them more information, and you can spread the word just by sharing that invite on Facebook to other people. You know what? You have an oikos. You have a group that you're close to. So can I tell you, though you can't physically get close to them, get close to them through email, through Messenger, through text, and just say, hey, in this time, Easter is more important than ever. Why don't you join me this Sunday as we watch our service online? And by doing that, you'll be doing what Andrew did when he brought Peter to Christ. Guys, again, we're excited as we start this new book, John. Continue tomorrow at John chapter 2. Look forward to being online and worshiping with you this Easter Sunday.